In this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know in order to get the best possible score in part 2 of the speaking test of the C1 Advanced Cambridge English exam, also known as the CAE exam. So I'm going to tell you what you have to do. I'm going to give you some useful vocabulary for this part of the exam, and I'm also going to show you a couple of examples of how to and how not to do this part of the exam. So one good example and one bad example. Okay, let's do this. Now, every Thursday I release a video on the Cambridge exams, so tips and advice on how to pass the Cambridge exams. And every Sunday I release more general videos on English learning, so pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary and general learning tips. So if that sounds interesting to you, you know what you have to do. Oh, I'm a poet. Anyway, hit the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss any of my future videos. Now, part 2 of the speaking exam is what we call the individual long turn. And you will be given 3 photographs, and you need to talk about 2 of those photographs for 1 minute. And you will need to compare the photographs and also answer 2 questions that will be written above the photographs, and also the examiners will ask you those questions. Now, what do you need to do? Well, yes, you need to compare the photographs and answer the questions, but at the same time you need to speculate. And the key word here is might. In almost all of the questions you will see the word might, because that is really the speculation word we use, because we don't know exactly what is happening in the photographs. We can be sure of some things that we see, but we have to speculate, so we have to use speculative vocabulary. Now, for some people, 1 minute may seem like an eternity in this context, and for others it may seem like a second. It passes very quickly. But the important thing is that you keep on talking for the minute. It's okay if the examiner has to interrupt you. That's not a problem, really. It's much worse if you just stop speaking after 30 or 40 seconds. So it's better to say too much than too little. And you have a lot to talk about in this 1 minute. As I said, you have to compare the photographs, answer the questions, speculate, use as much impressive vocabulary as possible. Now, apart from speaking for 1 minute about your own photographs, you will also be asked to comment on your partner's photographs for 30 seconds. So it will just be one extra question that the examiner will ask you to check that you're paying attention, really. So make sure you are listening when your partner is speaking. So what kind of vocabulary can you use in this part of the exam? Well, a lot of the vocabulary I can't teach you now because I don't know what photographs you're going to get. But we can prepare for the comparing and speculation part of this part of the exam. So let's look at some comparing vocabulary. You can use words like both, or as well, or also, or to. But if you're contrasting the photographs, so you're focusing on what is different in the photographs, you can use words such as whereas or while. And as I said, you need to speculate a lot in this part of the exam, so you need to use speculative vocabulary. As I said, might is a very important word. You will probably see it in the questions, but also may, must, could, perhaps, maybe, it looks like, or it seems, or she seems, or he seems. So these are really useful words which will help you to speculate on what you're seeing. Right, so now let's look at some examples. So this first example I'm going to show you is a bad example. His English is good because it's me speaking, and we're not looking at grammar or vocabulary mistakes, but he makes many mistakes. So see if you can spot how many mistakes he makes. As I said, not grammar mistakes. Here are your pictures. They show people doing things together. I'd like you to compare 2 of the pictures and say why the people might be doing these things together and how the people might be feeling. Okay, there are 5 men. They are walking in snow. They are in Antarctica, and it is very cold. In this photo, there are three girls talking with biscuits. They have long hair. They are happy. They are cooking together. The men are talking. They are outside. It's very cold. Yeah, that wasn't great, was it? So really that candidate made three big mistakes. Number one, he didn't answer the questions. He forgot to answer the questions. Number two, he didn't really use enough impressive vocabulary. This is an advanced exam, remember? You have to use the impressive vocabulary. And number three, he didn't speak for long enough. The examiner had to encourage him to continue. And there's a fourth mistake. It's not a big mistake, but it would be much better if you could look up and maybe smile a little. Looking down all the time, it's not a big problem, but it makes you look a lot more confident if you can look at the examiner in the eye maybe a couple of times. Okay, so that's just an extra tip. It's not that big a problem, but I would recommend it. So now let's look at a good example. Here are your pictures. They show people doing things together. I'd like you to compare two of the pictures and say why the people might be doing these things together and how the people might be feeling. Thank you. Okay, so the people in the first picture who might be adventurers are outside in a very cold, hostile environment, maybe Antarctica. They're using skis to cross the snow towards what may be their base camp. Whereas in the second picture, the three girls are cooking what looks like biscuits indoors and in a warm, safe house. The adventurers might be doing the activity together because it's safer and it would be dangerous and lonely to do it alone. While the girls are just having a good time and enjoying being with each other. Now the adventurers must be feeling exhausted and freezing, but also relieved to be finally arriving at their base camp. Whereas the girls are just excited and enthusiastic to be able to spend some quality time together. So much better, right? Yeah, he spoke for a long time until the minute was finished. He used plenty of impressive vocabulary. He answered the questions, which is very important. And he looked quite confident and fluent. Of course, it was me speaking and I'm a native English speaker and I could prepare it. But in the exam, that's what you need to be aiming for. And finally, with the extra question on your partner's photographs, that's not so difficult. Just make sure you're paying attention to what your partner is saying and just try to imagine what the question may be before the examiner asks it. Don't switch off when you've finished your turn. Okay, I hope you found this video useful and join me again for another video coming very soon. Thank you. Take care. Bye.